Right? So I was crying with you earlier. Fortunately, someone popped me some of these really stylish ICs, so now I can look cool under the lights.
Yeah, shout out to Kate Stokes, Joey Santley, everybody at IC. Really appreciate you guys. Heat 7, round of 16 out there in the water. JR Esquivel, number 4 in the world in 2024. Runner-up last year at this event at the Lexus US Open of Surfing up against Max Weston out of Australia. And as we know, JR tends to be very aggressive with the paddles at the beginning, and he finds a quality wave at the beginning of this heat. Straight to the nose. Beautiful carve right there for the Filipino surfer out of San Juan in La Union. Won the QS event there earlier this year to start things off in 2025. Has a lot of competitive experience, and as you mentioned a few days ago, did defeat Richie Cravey in a situation where he basically forced an interference at the beginning of the heat. So he is competitive by nature, as Max Weston works in software right now remotely, so allows him to travel internationally and compete worldwide, but does hold a very large degree in biomedical engineering. So 25:45 on the clock at a Stanmore in Sydney, but really resides everywhere nowadays. And the kid in blue, well, he's looking to make it into the quarterfinals against a very tough opponent in Esquivel.
Yeah, JR, an incredibly focused competitor. Man, a few words, keeps things pretty soft and quiet. Lets us speaking surf for him. He was the 2024 Lexus US Open surfing runner-up. A career high for him, and definitely setting the pace, not just for himself, but for all of his countrymen and women to kind of follow suit and have something really to look forward to and work towards. You know, he's an incredible role model for that Philippine surfing community.
Yeah, just turned 29 years of age a couple of weeks ago as well. And the 29-year-old, well, he's looking good, and even recovered priority after this one too, Carla.
Yeah, and if you saw the pulled back shot of that when we saw it live, Max was looking to try to go on that wave as well, was going to see if JR was going to go right. JR was smart, took that left, worked in his favor here. We're still waiting for the score to drop for both surfers here, but I think this is going to be a great opening ride for JR.
Yeah, and Esquivel coming out of San Juan tends to surf point breaks for the most part. Meanwhile, Wesson very well versed in beach breaks himself.
Yeah, nice tip time there that he got there. Doesn't quite get the turn right off the bat there. Does turn it into this reform here, trying to kind of stay glued on, find that opening wall there as it starts to stand up again, as we see the tide starting to fill in a bit more and give that reform inside section an opportunity for these surfers to get some more scores.
So the 33-year-old Weston did win the region throughout Australia, Oceania, a chemical and biomolecular engineer, and works remotely, allows him not only to travel worldwide, also to pursue his dream of becoming a world longboard champion. Great dude, amazing person, but most importantly, he is skilled as well. So evenly matched heat despite the obvious very, very much favorite Esquivel with the people on the beach. Boy, ever since his debut, he has had a huge crowd on the beach supporting him. The opener for Weston, 5.83, still waiting for JR's opener.
You know, obviously, there's a lot of support in the longboard community, and there's been great audiences, but you have to say, since JR has entered the scene, our audio levels, our volume levels have definitely gone up with that Philippine crowd and their support that they show their fellow countrymen.
And he opens up with a 6.5. Speaking of opening up his surfing into the quarterfinals here at the Lexus US Open of Surfing, Declan Whiten with Rosie.
Declan, deja vu from the round of 16 heat that you had at the US Open.
Every heat, it seems to be more charismatic as it goes on. 21:20 on the clock. JR Esquivel with a slim lead at the moment, a 6.5 and a 4. Max Weston with priority in the blue does have a 5.83, now needing a 4.68. But as we typically know, JR is a quick starter, already up into the double digits with his first 2 rides.
Yeah, he likes to get his campaign going pretty quickly, likes to kind of just put that stamp on it right in the get-go. I think it helps put a bit of nerves into his opponent, kind of makes them have to really kind of stay on their toes, quite literally, toes on the nose. Max still waiting for that second score, so things will change. He's only looking for a 4.68, and plenty of time on the clock, 20.5 minutes left.
Are you a fan of maybe wanting to pressure your opponent into committing a mistake at the beginning of the heat, or against somebody like Max, you think opening up, maybe getting some distance in between the two of them might be beneficial to JR? He's basically answering your question right here, because there's a good amount of separation between the two of them. Got the 10 there momentarily, and boy, is it me, or does it just seem like his wave selection here in HB tends to be some of the best we see out of everybody on tour?
He's really a fascinating character. He's super, smart with his wave IQ, his competition IQ. In general, he's just top level, especially coming from a community like the Philippines that hasn't been on the mark yet. It hasn't really, taken that place in the surfing in the world. And so he's really showing what's out there, what kind of talent and skill set is coming out of the Philippines. He's just one, I can tell you, he's just one of great surfers out there.
Here's Max Weston now with the response. Gets the 5. Really cool steeds and style coming out of it. Beautiful carve right there. Really draws out the entirety of the turn with the use of that board. Taking his time right here through the mid part of the wave. And looking to get the inside reform. He does. And touch the 5 right there towards the end, but that'll be incomplete for the second one for Max Weston. A good response, though, given that it is very likely that Esquivel will be improving on his 4-point ride. 19 minutes to go, and at least say, you know, he doesn't necessarily get something in the 7-point or 8-point range. Esquivel, once again, wave selection on point.
Yeah, this is a great little ride right here. As we mentioned earlier this morning, the tide was super low. It looked a little bit desperate out there, but as the tide's filling in, some beautiful longboard waves. I think it looks incredibly fun as we watch JR work it into the inside there. He gets that inside nose ride section, works it back to the right, and really just staying active. There wasn't much downtime in that wave, which was nice. We'll also see the replay here of Blue. Mr. Weston, he gets some nice footwork into the nose ride. He's kind of got that, I could be wrong, but I like to call it, that's the Diggity Dane Peterson kind of little curled shoulder, head kind of tucked down, real steezy style, and that's very reminiscent to me of my old friend Dane Peterson.
It's almost like you're defending a rear naked choke. You're bringing your chin in all the way to your chest.
Yeah, kind of keeping those shoulders kind of low. He keeps his arms low. It's definitely a very specific traditional style that we're seeing coming from Dr. Max. But we're waiting for scores to drop, as you mentioned. JR opening up with that great 6.5 and then following up with a 4. And Max opening up with a 5.83. We'll see what his second wave drops as. Waiting for a third score as well for JR. Looks like it's going to better his 4, coming in at a 6.77. So making the requirement from Max right now at a 7.44.
And priority still with the surfer out of the Philippines. There are the numbers. Goes all the way up to a 7.2. Throughout the high and the low, you average the other 3 scores. So it is his personal best at the moment. And you mentioned him really being the face of Filipino surfing at the moment. And he's been the catalyst so far, and had the chance to compete a couple of Filipinos myself back in the day. John Mark Taconco was actually on the Challenger. Piso Alcala, who won an event in Siargao a few years ago too. But really, all in all, when it comes to people that have succeeded at the highest levels, you're seeing the guy on screen, really doing that so far, at least in the last 3 years or so. Yeah,
JR has really been the one that's put the Philippines just on that global map, and it's really cool that it's been on a longboard because, as you mentioned, some really great names that have come out of Siargao. Another great name we have right in front of us, Max Weston, getting that white. I love his footwork to the nose, and when he lands his 5, it's generally already really tight. He doesn't really have a cheater 5 or like stretch 5 situation, which I really can appreciate.
And is it me? Or does he really use the mid and the top part of the board very well? Maybe the best out of everybody I've seen so far in this event.
Yeah, he has a really keen sense of the trim line, both with the wave and the board. I think his scores have been slightly under JR's because there's been a bit of downtime where he's waiting for that inside.
In the mid part of the wave, right?
Yeah, and while to the keen eye, you understand kind of how critical those trim points are. When we're looking at the criteria, we don't want a lot of that downtime. You really want to connect those maneuvers one to the other with very little space or as we say, downtime in between.
So waiting on that score, that was the last wave that he caught. Previous ride came through as a 6-point ride. So at the moment, that is his high mark. JR at the moment still in the lead. The last of Weston, not enough. 5.63, so doesn't even go into his top 2, needing a 7.27. Priority with the surfer in red, Esquivel. And he might be using it right here, looking left. It seems like a smaller wave, but has potential to grow on the inside, and that's actually going to be a big mistake and a gratuitous offer to the priority towards Max Weston at the moment now.
Really interesting there, because JR is pretty good about not getting sold, and he got sold right there. I think Max
pressured him.
Yeah, well, and I think JR was seeing the pressure before this actual clip. He gets in, I think this is the little one that he gets into. No, that's the one he pulls out. Yeah, so you saw JR seeing Max go, and he's not giving him any leeway, right? So he decides to use that priority, then he doesn't catch it. And I really feel like Max sold him into it. Here he's trying to kind of recover from that kind of faux pas. Here he gets the heels, but that double pet of the kitty there is not going to really be looked at. Super awesome, but getting into the inside, does some nice fancy footwork, gets that drop knee in there. He's already working with a 6.5 and a 6.77. Not sure that's going to factor into that, high 2-wave score line, but I think he wanted to kind of reboost and reset his confidence because you could tell he felt a little bit man, I blew it there.
Well, at this point of the heat too, it's not a bad mistake to really make, right? I mean, you already paddled for the wave, you lost priority, you might as well go on a wave that your opponent's not going to want to go on.
Yeah, and just knowing JR, he's going to want to be okay, I screwed that up, and now I want to throw something extra flashy and not just for myself, but for his audience and for the judges. And remind, I didn't like this very much. I know he was doing it for a purpose, but I think that'll keep that score line a little bit lower than what we've seen on these previous higher waves.
Yeah, you want everything to be clean, right? Especially in transition too.
Yeah, and that said, like you said, there's plenty of time on the clock, plenty of time to just go for waves. He's already leading. Max needing, a fairly decent score. It's attainable. We've seen these scores out here this morning, so not something that, Weston is going to be too worried about as far as knowing that what he needs to do on it, but it's just a matter of getting the wave. I saw Ben Skinner after his heat, gave him the kind of condolences, if you will, and he was like, I just didn't have the waves. Like, I just didn't feel like I had the opportunity to do what I needed to do, and that's just the unfortunate case about competitions in the ocean.
Yep. 727 is what Weston needs at the moment, and as you were saying, it is an attainable score, especially with how clean it is at the moment out there. As soon as I say that, though, it does seem like there is a bit of texture that is slowly popping up right here. Max going to use his priority, though, to the nose. Well arched to the back right there for Max Weston. Looking to make the connection all the way through to the inside, and this wave is just going to let him down. So looking for a 727. Priority goes back to JR Esquivel. As let's go down to AJ for a little UV update.
So wear it, love it, have fun, and don't forget to reapply.
Well, and you reference the fact that you're a surfer yourself, and so it's one of the things that's really cool about Neutrogena's products, how they're building that into a really active lifestyle. How have you experienced that as both a dermatologist and a surfer?
So I love that question because I actually felt a little conflicted at first, because as a dermatologist, my first goal is your skin health, and part of that is protecting you from the skin. But as a person, I love being outside. I skateboard, I electric skateboard, I surf. This is my love and passion, and so you have to just protect your skin while you live your life. Just be consistent, and that's kind of my message: is live your life, have an adventure, but protect your skin while you do it.
We love it. Thank you so much for being down here, for answering all the questions. And Mitch, I'm going to grab me some sunscreen because it's a cloudy day, but I need it anyway.
Yeah, might as well get some for all of us, too, because I need to reapply every couple of hours. Thank you to Dr. Maxfield. And remember, stay protected with Neutrogena and enjoy the waves out here at Southside Huntington Beach Pier. 10 minutes to go. JR Esquivel, during the interview, got a 7.83, extends his lead up to the nose. Once again, holds the 10 for a long period of time. Comes out of it without an issue either. And in the last third of this heat, he has truly not only extended his lead, put himself in a dominant position to move through into the quarter, somehow makes it to the inside. He's going to kick out, though. And boy, Carla, if there's somebody who knows how to surf this wave that is not a local to the south side, it's definitely the guy in red, Esquivel.
He's really phenomenal. He's always been somebody that my husband and I, Ian, we've always just been blown away by throughout the years, even as a kid. Here we'll see the replay here. As you said, he gets that 5 to that really nice 10, holds it over, brings it back around, a lot of energy, waiting for that reform in here. There's a bit of downtime as he waits for it to reform there, but gets the white. What a killer shot there with the Philippine flag in the foreground. The support. If you're down here, you're feeling kind of hungry, there's some super tasty lugao, some rice porridge, all sorts of yummy treats down in the Philippine camp.
They got everything. I mean, they're offering it to you literally at the beginning of the morning to 8:55 to go. And it seems like Esquivel definitely had his breakfast. He's defeating Weston at the moment with just under 9 minutes to go here in heat number 7. A heavily favored JR Esquivel so far, passing the test against Max Weston with flying colors. And Carla, it just seems like both the rights and the lefts, Esquivel seems to be very comfortable here in Huntington.
Yeah, I mean, he's really just putting it down right now and really putting the pressure on Max. Really making it difficult for Max to kind of like come up, because every time Max gets a wave, JR gets a better one. And here is the live shot here. What a 10 right there. That hood ornament pose gets the redirect back into the whitewater, working for the reform. Looks back to see what Max is working with, but Max looking on this left, gets 2 steps almost to the nose, comes unglued, not able to make anything happen with that wave, so he's going to get back out there. He's a bit further out than JR, so we'll see if he's able to kind of regain priority once again.
So when you say hood ornament, is that what you would normally see on a car?
Yeah, the hood ornament, right? Like I think of like the Jaguar, the little Jaguar that's on the end of a car. You know, it's the JR Esquivel.
Well, maybe we'll get one of those for a Lexus car that JR
Right?
could eventually have.
Yeah, I think that would be epic. If next year part of your winnings, you get a trophy and then you get a little hood ornament that goes on your Lexus.
Probably hearing you right now, so maybe they're
hint, hint.
already doing something like that for 2026. So his last 2 rides don't go into his top 2, 5:07, 4:17. But with 5.5 on the clock, Weston does recover priority. And as of right now, still needing the 8.6. We've already seen a couple of excellent scores so far today. As we see all scores, 7 waves each for both surfers. It's not impossible. I mean, especially, I'm pleasantly surprised with the quality of the waves at this point of the day, too. It's 11 a.m., and we are
of the surf community and a mentor to a lot of the up-and-comers and those that have already been through in the surfing world there in Peru.
Yeah, a 2-time world champion as well, Piccolo Clemente. By the way, Piccolo, his nickname. The real name is Benoit.
Benoit.
Yeah.
Benoit, which I always kind of was like, where does Piccolo and Benoit kind of...
But if you ask who knows Benoit Clemente, probably 90% of people won't know who that is.
Know who you're
if you say who it's Piccolo, oh, I know Piccolo.
Yeah. Piccolo also a really amazing surfer, man a few words, really lets his surfing
Quiet, yep.
speak for him. I was fortunate enough to work with the Peruvian team for the Pan American Games. I believe it was in 2018, and I was referred to by Piccolo, so that was quite the compliment.
So just under 4 minutes. JR still in the lead. Weston needing an 8.6. He does have priority. And once again, the tide truly facilitating here for these surfers out in the lineup. You know, despite these being world-class surfers, not every wave is world-class. It does seem like they are surfing them, though, that way. A great hang five right there. As Carla says, the hood ornament style from JR Esquivel. Looking to make the reform on the inside, and he's trying to improve on a 6.77. Let's see if he can do so right there. 3 minutes to go. And it's all about whether or not Max can be able to get some open face to work with, because at the moment, really, his last 5 rides, most of them been throwaways.
Yeah, you know, JR is just kind of in the moment, in the pocket. He's picking all the right waves, it seems like. His last wave coming in at a 5.83, so not going to change the situation. However, if you notice those last 2 rides there, he got a 5.07 and a 5.83, and he got that pretty much based on some pretty solid nose riding. He was able to get a turn in, but that wasn't really the highlight part. But just on the nose ride alone, pulling in a 5 really just goes to show that, you know, technical prowess that is behind JR.
And there's the man we're speaking of right now. The face of Filipino surfing at the moment. The pride of San Juan and La Union. And once again, despite this wave not improving, a 5.83, still showcasing his skills here at Southside.
The nose rides have been kind of all time in this heat. I really don't have anything to pick apart about it. I love how he brings his feet really tight together. I love how he faces forward in those 10s. Sometimes, you know, you will see these 10s that are kind of almost facing off to the side. He really like just drives it forward, and I can really appreciate that.
A minute 45, it's the subtleties, right? And in the end, those are the things that make the difference between somebody who's maybe a filler on tour and somebody who eventually becomes world champion.
We often compare longboarding to dance, right? And so there's these different things within dance that make a dancer more fluid or more beautiful than the other. And like you said, it's those subtleties, whether it be placement of the fingers or you know, the strength of the wrist, the follow through from shoulder to fingertip, the knees, the legs, you know, all those different things kind of add to that style that really is what is the whole embodiment of longboarding.
So a little over a minute. Esquivel with the lead, 6.77 his low score. And it is Max Weston needing an 8.6. It would have to be the highest score of the event. And he's on the move. Potential for a wave on the outside. Already has a 6 in his score line. He is capable of getting that score and even more. And a peak coming towards him at the moment. Having a dig at this one. And it's going to end up going right. Good fade to the nose. Took him a couple of steps to be able to get there. Perched on the nose for a good portion of time, too. And let's see if the inside makes it worth his while. 20 seconds. As Carla has mentioned, maybe the downtime in between the outside and the inside have cost him a little bit.
No,
Doing well, though.
Really well and really smooth and really composed, really put together. I mean, fabulous surfing. He should be happy with his performance. I think he needed to get a few more 10s in some of those moments there. He did get some really solid 5s, but JR, he just really kind of came through and smoked it.
Well, waiting on the score to make things official. It's a 5.77 for Weston. Not enough. Respectable 9th place finish for Max here at the Lexus US Open of Surfing presented by Pacifico. But last year's runner-up at number 4 on the World Longboard Tour, JR Esquivel, into the quarterfinals once again here at Southside HB Pier. Connie Stewart, Taka Inoue when we return here to Southside. Thank you, Rosie, and congrats to JR Esquivel into the quarters once again here at the Lexus US Open of Surfing presented by Pacifico. And both of us have had the fortune of going to the Philippines before. Want to take this moment to thank Luke Landrigan as well, a big part of the community over there in La Union, and you know, TBP, Tourism Board Promotions of the Philippines too. They've done a lot really to increase promotion and of course inclusion of a lot of surfers, not only within that part of La Union, in Siargao as well.
Yeah.